I have a feeling that a lot of that was orchestrated to collapse the Abraham Accords. And, Trump said the other day, well, not the other day, this is a while back, but he said, when I was talking to Netanyahu, I could tell in 5 minutes he didn't want to make a deal. Netanyahu was not here to make a deal. And I think that's where, was it Benny Gantz was going to be, Benny Gantz was going to challenge Netanyahu and call for a special election. And that was the same day that girl was rescued in Gaza, the hostage that they flew in the helicopter with no door guns because they're brain dead, apparently. Propaganda. But anyways, that's my place on that.
Well, I think it's also important because, as I often have said before and will say again, the opinions of those that have served our country are the ones that I think matter most, especially when it comes to foreign policy. And they especially matter most when it comes to the Marines, because you guys are the frontline fighters. No disrespect to others who go into combat, but there is something about, Semper Fi. It's just a completely different world. It's a completely level of true sacrifice that I don't think most people understand. I think we have to be completely honest here regarding the biggest elephant in the room regarding Israel, and that's Miriam Adelson. And yes, the biggest check that Trump received was $100 million from her. Now, was it necessarily to get him elected? I'm not 100% convinced that was what it was for. I think the $100 million check is to get the West Bank annexed.
Well, no, she just bought the West Bank, but she bought the West Bank, but you do that by getting whoever you want placed in those positions. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, is Trump going to serve her above all other interests to the contrary?
That's the question.
And the big other interests.
Yeah. And the big difference between the type of fighting, if you will, that we see in left politics, like going into a Zoom call and complaining, versus the type of actual fighting that can happen from people that are on the libertarian right. You guys don't take this shit lying down. If you feel that the direction that this country is going in is the wrong direction, you will stand your ground and fight. And I do believe that I hate the word final battle, but the battle for the soul of the future of the United States of America rests on whether or not we will cut ties with Israel. At some point, this conversation must come to the forefront.
Why do you think it that way? See, and I think that Israel is us. I actually think that Israel exists at our pleasure.
I understand that that's what you think, but what I'm saying is that even if that's true to some degree, we cannot neglect the fact that so much of the driving force behind all of the foreign wars and engagements that we've been in since 9/11 have one way or another been directly correlated with the interests of Israel. And you could say that, well, they're, as RFK said, our aircraft carrier in the Middle East, whatever they are, they have caused so much blood to be spilled in the name of bullshit, as I like to say.
Well, and they're creating tons more anti-Semitism as well while they're doing it on their way.
And that's the intention. The intention is to drive that anti-Semitic rhetoric as hard as possible, because that's what they believe gives them cover to continue sending men like you off to die. That's all this is about. And when AIPAC and it wasn't Haaretz, but it was you know what I'm talking about, James. You know I'm going with this.
Yeah.
There was a message that was put out by AIPAC the other day saying we must stand with Israel and we must be willing to fight Iran. And I'm just thinking, how do you guys not see the scam? Like, how do you not see where this is going? You know that this is all about starting World War III and forcing our hand to put hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops into the Middle East. And most of them will die because there is something to be said for people that, especially that, when you think of, Jen, you've said many a times that every one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter.
Every time. Well, every time. There's three sides to every story. So yes, every single time that somebody claims somebody's a terrorist, there's somebody who claims that person is a freedom fighter somewhere.
And so when we get involved in these conflicts, and make no mistake, you guys know this as well as anybody, these conflicts are all done over money and power. That is the reason why we're in Ukraine. That's the reason why we're in Gaza. And that is sure as fuck is the reason why we'll end up in Taiwan. This is always about money and power. It always has been. It always will be. They use religion as a crutch because that's what scares the shit out of the most people. And so they're going to continue to use that while completely neglecting whether it's the message of Christ or whoever, it is the complete juxtaposition. It's not the real message. And that to me is what I'm afraid of. But what I think these conversations should be doing is facilitating this class solidarity coupled with how are we going to dismantle the military industrial complex. I believe in giving as much support as humanly possible to the men and women who put on the uniform. But as I've said to Brian before,
and transfer it to Veterans Affairs and help them.
Yes.
How about that?
As I said to Brian, and I will say to you, make no mistake about who runs this country. When you fly into Washington, D.C., the first thing you see as soon as you land is Lockheed Martin's headquarters. That is on purpose. That is to let you know who's in charge and will continue to be in charge unless we decide that we're not going to let you be in charge.
Well, and
we stand up.
That's the whole thing too. If you looked at Eisenhower, I mean, he sufficiently warned us. He was a general. He knew the military industrial complex inside and out. He warned us that was the greatest threat. And my concern with Israel is, okay, we're America first. Keep their asses out of our Congress, lobbying our congressmen and women on both sides, because they pander to the right and the left. They don't care as long as they get their way. And this is a thing that has just pissed me off for so long in the respect that, okay, America first. Okay, let's truly put America first and stop giving them, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican in office, stop giving them control over where we fight, what we do, what we buy. It's just ridiculous in my fair estimation.
Well, let me ask you this. Like, I see things like this all the time. Like when you see somebody like Brian Mast wearing an IDF uniform, or you see these Congress people with Israeli flags hanging in at their offices. And this is not uncommon. Like there's a ton of the Congress people that have this. And yet these are many of the same people that would complain about any influence from Russia or China, right? Like if somebody put up the Chinese flag at their office in the Capitol, people would lose their minds.
Yep.
If it was the American Chinese Political Affairs Committee and they were saying, we're going to give $100 million to get rid of some of your Congress people would lose their minds. And
Russia's
yet Brian Mast is wearing an
bastardized.
IDF uniform. How is that not somewhat like, I don't want to say traitor, it's not traitory, but it's just so, it feels very wrong to me for
It's
somebody.
cringy.
It's very cringy. Like you guys served. So like, how do you, and he did, I don't know what branch, I don't know what he's from, other than I think he's a psychopath, but that aside.
Well, as Floridians here, we can all agree that the worst congressperson in the state of Florida is DWS. But I got to tell you, this guy in the last 5-6 years, especially since October 7th, man, he's pushing really fucking hard for it. So we're going to play this clip real quick.
Israeli spy? Are you spying on the American government for Israel?
In a bold act of patriotism, former U.S. Army intelligence officer Josephine Guilbeault confronted Congressman Brian Mast, calling out his allegiance to Israel after taking over $600,000 from the Israeli lobby to put Israel's interest above America's.
Are you spying on the American government for Israel?
Why would you even ask that?
Because I'm a former intelligence officer. I have read documentation that points to you actually having allegiance to Israel and not America.
That's a very ridiculous question.
Why are you continuing to accept donations from Israeli citizens like the Falek family from Miami?
Really a tremendous ally.
Israel is not our ally.
Do you agree that accepting money to serve Israel's interests over America's is an act of treason?
All right. So, well, again, I'm not going to say treason because it isn't technically treason, but it's just, what are you, I saw you like just cringing, Brian.
Well, when people say Israel's our greatest ally, name one thing Israel has done that makes them an ally.
Why I
Get
don't
Americans
think they're
killed.
an ally. There are attack dog. There are attack dog in the middle. They're doing exactly what we want to be doing, because if they weren't, we wouldn't be with them anymore.
Israel reminds me of and I'm speaking about the government. I have zero issues whatsoever with the Israeli people. Zero.
Oh, I do. Oh, I have issues with them too. We can get to that later. Oh,
I don't. I mean, they might be
Talk
proud
about cringing.
nationalists. Yeah, they might be proud nationalists, and but I'm saying, like, I have nothing against them. But the
Of a
Israeli
make-believe
government,
country, but okay.
that's a fair argument. They think that, like, they can go. They're like the schoolyard bully. They're the little, small kid in school that goes up to the bully and punches them in the mouth. And then when the bully says, "Be here at 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. to get your ass kicked," they run to us and they're like, "Hey," to their big brother, "Hey, can you come and fight this kid for me?" And we're like, "No, I can't fight it, but here, I'm going to give you all this equipment that you can go fight him yourself. And don't worry, we'll foot the bill for all that. Go ahead." It's so ridiculous. Oh, and one other thing. I think it was last year, and I can't remember who sponsored the bill, but we had a bill that would require dual citizenship to be public to the American people. And they got to pass that bill. We got to have it. And this is not just against Israel.
And just so people are clear, I could have dual citizenship with Israel if I wanted to.
Yes. And there's a lot of people that are dual citizens in our Congress, and it's not just with Israel, although I would bet it's mostly Israel.
I mean, but
There's
so,
lot.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, for example, if somebody's a dual citizen with us in Canada, I don't know that I necessarily
know. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with us knowing. I'm just saying, if we know, like, I don't necessarily have a problem of it as long as you don't see anything that's a conflict of interest. That's why it should be information that we know. I'm just saying, I don't think in and of itself that that's an issue for any country. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the bill doesn't forbid you from running. It just makes you have to disclose it. And I agree. You should be able to run no matter what, except, as within the bounds of the Constitution. So you can't be president if you're born in another country. But yeah,
like Congress people showing up to Congress in an Israeli military uniform.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I think that's completely screwed up.
That shows foreign allegiance, and that is not okay with me.
So that bothers you too, right? Like, and
yes.
This is okay, right? Like, and this is someone we had a friend of mine on, Matthew Ho. I don't know if you know who Matthew is. He's with the Eisenhower Network, and he's also a Marine. But one of the things I'd asked him a long time ago about people like Brian Mast, I'm like, when people serve like you, most of the time, to me, they seem to come out of that seeing that that's not the answer, seeing that we don't want that. And then I see people like Brian Mast that come out and they're complete war hawks, complete warmongers. I mean, like, and I asked Matthew, I'm like, do you think that, like, just how did he turn into that? Like, how did he? And he's like, no. He was like that when he served. We had people like that amongst us. They're psychotic people. Like, that's just, they're how people that they're into it. And they were like that to begin with. And I just think he's one of those people. There's something wrong with him. Brian Mast, there's something wrong with him.
There's something wrong with a lot of them. And honestly, I'm tired of people using the term, these are our leaders. This is our leadership.
They are
our servants. They're our servants. They're our public servants. They've been given way too much power, way too much money, and they're way too corrupt. And when we truly take that back and start taking active involvement and getting our ass off the couch, that's when this starts to unwind and we can actually have a government. I'm not talking about the White House or specifically Congress, but a government as a whole with the agencies and everything that is truly representative of we the people. And that's been coined a right-wing term, we the people. And that is our term.
That's
all of us.
That was a very conscious decision in 2015 to start putting we the people as some type of a right-wing nationalist fringe statement.
Why is that? It's in my Constitution. Where is my Constitution? What happened to my Constitution?
I never took it. Don't blame me.
Where did it go? It used to be here.
It's supposed to be on the round. It's kind of like I'm there right now, just like imagine.
I don't know where it is. I have a Constitution somewhere.
So this is something that many people don't know, but it's our job to inform people. That's our job. We are here to transform politics into service. So these are the phallic family.
Okay, these are the duty-free people. These people are problematic.
So this is Simon Phallic and his wife.
It's like the East Coast
Resnicks.
Resnicks. It's like the East Coast Resnicks.
Yeah. So these guys are billionaires. They live on Miami Beach. This guy has been one of, if not the biggest funder of Wasserman Schultz's political career for quite some time. This is also one of Brian Mast's biggest donors. These guys are known for funding settler groups in the occupied West Bank. These are people that rub elbows with Miriam Adelson on a regular basis. So if you want to get to the heart of the problem that we have right now when it comes to our government being captured by corporate special interests, certainly this is a billionaire, playground that it's turned into. But there is something very sinister about what the Phallic family has been up to and their intentions.
It's phallic with an F, but I get your point. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Did somebody say something else?
I just no, they're just being,
Yes, but these are, I'm not telling anybody to go out there and do anything in particular. I'm just saying that if you want to know what the face of the enemy looks like, this is the face of the enemy. And what's always so telling about these individuals, I guarantee you that not only have they
look the same to me. She looks the same as Resnick's wife. She looks the same as Bezos's wife. All these wives look the same to me.
Well, they're Stepford or whatever you want to call them.
A lot of injectable.
But if there's one thing I think we can all agree on is that neither them nor anybody in their immediate family or friends has ever served in the military, guaranteed. And so it's always people like this that are ready, willing, and able to send others off to do their dirty work. They don't have the courage or the gall to do anything to actually defend this country or fight for it. For them, this is it's just a shell game. And I really wish more and more people would understand that. That is the only reason why Brian Mast does that. And the thing, Brian, that I think you probably noticed when it came to, Mast in particular, you've probably seen the videos, even though they're very lefty. Our friends, Medea Benjamin, led by Medea Benjamin over at Code Pink, they go right up to these Congress members and they call them out immediately. And I will tell you, nobody is as incessant and spiteful and just outright disrespectful at a level that Brian Mast tends to be with these people.
Yeah.
You could see the look in his eyes when that lady came up to him in her uniform, and he didn't want to disrespect her. In fact, he looked kind of scared. He knew that if he said something disrespectful to somebody who wears the uniform, that would not go over well, even with his psycho supporters. And so he chose his words very carefully in a way that I have never seen him do before. And so that really said something to me in that moment, that he was very thrown off by the fact that somebody who wore the uniform was telling him, you're a fucking traitor to America. And he didn't really know what to say. And I thought that was very powerful.